Have you ever used your credit card for something you didn't exactly need at that moment and felt that strange relief, as if the problem had been solved, but without any real money having left your account? And then, weeks or months later, when the bill arrives, you look at that amount and think, how did this happen again? This feeling, this sensation that paying with a card isn't really paying, is the key to understanding the mind of someone who pays for everything with a credit card. And before you think this is just about financial irresponsibility or lack of control, let me tell you, that superficial explanation is completely wrong. What's happening in your mind when you choose a card is much deeper, more psychological and more human than you imagine. Stay with me, because what this reveals about how you view money and time can completely change how you understand yourself. Let's start with the most difficult, but perhaps the most common explanation. For many people, paying for everything with a credit card isn't a choice, it's an escape. Think about it. If you grew up in a home where money was scarce, where every month there was that tension of, will it be enough or not? Where you saw your parents constantly worrying about bills, something very specific happens in your psychology. You develop what psychologists call scarcity anxiety. And scarcity anxiety has a paradoxical effect. Instead of making you save, it can make you spend. Why? Because your brain learns that money is something that disappears anyway. So, when you have access to credit, that feeling of being able to buy without seeing the money go out, it's like you're finally breathing. The credit card becomes, psychologically, a form of compensation. It's not that you're irresponsible. It's that, for the first time, you feel you can have the things you've always seen other people have. You are unconsciously healing the pain of not having had enough before. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine you grew up wearing secondhand clothes, always getting leftovers, never having anything truly yours and new. Now, as an adult, when you walk into a store and swipe your card to buy something new, something no one has ever worn before, you're not just buying clothes. You're buying the feeling of entitlement that was missing in your childhood. The card isn't the villain here. It's the facilitator of a deep emotional need. And there's more. The card creates an emotional distance between you and money. When you pay with physical cash or debit, you feel the loss immediately. This is what behavioral economists call payment pain. But the card postpones that pain. And if you carry a financial trauma, postponing the pain is exactly what your brain wants to do. There's even a fascinating MIT study that showed people spend up to 100% more when paying with a card compared to cash. Not because they're less intelligent, but because the card disables the part of the brain that processes loss. It's literally harder for your brain to register that you're losing something. So, if you recognize this in yourself, understand this. You are not sabotaging your future. You are trying, in the way you can, to heal your past. And recognizing this is the first step to changing the pattern. The problem was never you. It was always what you didn't receive when you needed it. Now, not everything is trauma. Sometimes paying for everything with a credit card is simply a matter of how your brain processes time and value. And here, you're not a victim of your past. You're a victim of your own biology. There's a cognitive bias called present bias or time discounting. Basically, our brains value what's happening now much more than what will happen in the future. And credit cards are the perfect tool to exploit this bias. When you see something you want, clothes, dinner, a gadget, and swipe your card, your brain registers the reward immediately. You leave the store with the product, you feel the satisfaction now. But the cost? The cost is abstract. It's in the future. And the future, for your brain, is nebulous, distant, almost unreal. This isn't a flaw in your brain. It's literally how we evolved. For thousands of years, instant gratification was a survival advantage. Eating now was better than saving for later, because later might never be enough. Your brain still runs on that 10,000-year-old software, but now it's dealing with credit cards and 12-month payment plans. And let's add another layer: the way the credit card is presented. Credit card companies don't say you'll pay this in 30 days. They say you can pay in 12 interest-free installments. They transform a large number into small numbers. It's the anchoring bias. Your brain anchors itself to the small value of the installment, not the total. Here's how it works in practice. You're looking at a $200 TV. Your brain says, that's expensive. But then the salesperson says, or you can pay just $100 a month. Suddenly, $100 seems manageable. Your brain stops processing the $200 and starts processing the $100. You forget that in the end, it's still $200. That's the trick. And it works because we didn't evolve to do complex financial math instinctively. Furthermore, many people have simply never been taught how to use credit strategically. No one sits down with you at 18 and explains the difference between using credit as a tool and using credit as an extension of your salary. There's no psychology of money class in school. You learn by doing, and often that means learning by making mistakes. There's also the social factor. We live in an era where everyone around you seems to have everything. Instagram, TikTok, friends buying things, traveling, living life to the fullest. And when you have a business card in your hand, it's easy to feel like you too can and should participate in that lifestyle. It's not about being superficial. It's about belonging. It's about not getting left behind. So if you pay everything by card because it seems easier, because the installments seem smaller, because nobody taught you otherwise, because everyone around you does the same, you're not being irrational. You're being human in a system designed to exploit exactly those biases. Credit card companies know this. Retailers know this. And now you know it too. But now, let me give you a different perspective, one that perhaps no one has given you before. And this may be the most liberating of all. What if paying by card isn't a problem, but a way for you to express a deep value about how you want to live your life? Think about it. People who pay for everything with their credit card, especially when choosing experiences, trips, dinners, moments, often place a high value on the present moment. And that's not irresponsibility. It's a philosophy of life. You are the type of person who understands, perhaps unconsciously, that life is finite. That saved money is useless if you never use it to create memories, to feel pleasure, to live in the present. You prioritize experiences over possessions. And that, my friend, is something that many books on positive psychology and even philosophy advocate. There's a famous study from Cornell University that showed people regret experiences they didn't have far more than the money they spent. At the end of their lives, nobody thinks, I should have saved more. People think, I should have traveled more. I should have spent more time with the people I love. I should have said yes to that opportunity. There's a huge difference between compulsively accumulating debt and using credit as a tool to maximize your quality of life. If you use your card to travel, to be with people you love, to invest in experiences that make you feel alive, to learn something new, you're not being reckless. You're making a conscious choice about what matters to you. Furthermore, you might be someone who understands that the future is uncertain, that over-planning, over-saving, and over-procrastinating can mean never truly living. This doesn't mean you don't care about your future. It means you don't want to sacrifice your present for a future that may never arrive the way you imagine it. Think about the people who spent their entire lives saving for retirement and never got there. Think about the people who postponed their dream trip, and when they finally had the money, they no longer had the health. You, unconsciously, may have learned this lesson before others. Of course, balance is important, but recognize this. Your relationship with your credit card may not be a flaw. It may be a reflection of someone who values the freedom to live intensely, to not deprive themselves, to say yes to life now. And here's the crucial point. If you can pay your bills, if you're not drowning in interest, if you're using credit to expand your life and not to pretend to have a life you don't have, then maybe the problem isn't the credit card. Maybe the problem is the cultural narrative that you should be living differently. Maybe the problem is the voice in your head telling you that you're irresponsible when in reality you're just someone who chose to live differently. There is power in recognizing this. There is freedom in understanding that your way of dealing with money is valid, as long as it is done consciously. So, as we have seen, the mind of someone who pays for everything with a credit card may be driven by an attempt to heal a past of scarcity, by cognitive biases that are simply human, or by a deep appreciation of the present and experiences. Whatever your situation, your behavior with the card is not a moral failing. It's simply a reflection of how you manage money, time, and what you value in life. The real question isn't, why do I do this? It's, does this habit bring me freedom, or does it trap me in anxiety? If this video helped you better understand yourself and your relationship with money, click subscribe. Every week, we delve deeper into the psychology behind money, habits, and the decisions that shape your life. And tell me in the comments, do you use your credit card as a tool, or do you feel like it controls you? I want to know your story.